करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वनिवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So the topic we are discussing, as you know, in this Tuesday night classes is how to discover asangata, the non-attachment to anything. It means just how to be just who we are. We don't need any support, any conditions, any dependency. So that's really what the whole objective of these classes is. So here the Shastra tells us that our nature is freedom. Freedom from any kind of conditionality, any disturbances, any dukkha, any problems in life. We are just by ourselves a complete being without any deficiency, without any aspirations. Aspirations actually are to achieve something, to get something. In fact, that is the very nature of karma. All life means that you're full of trying to be something. Swami Dayananji used to say, this is called life of becoming. So bhavasagaraha. So life of becoming means that you become something, and then you're happy for a while or unhappy for a while, depending on where you reach. And then you start all over again. Then you keep on changing. So this sense of change, of becoming, is what is characteristic of a limited being, a jiva, which is not the nature of the Atma, as you know all that. So, so the question is, how do we get there? And I think all the acharyas all say that a relativity is important before absoluteness. If you want absolute asangata, you must have relative asangata. If you want total love, you must have relative love. So that is the direction that you have to go through. And in fact, it is indicative of our place in our journey to see where we are at this point. If my mind is still not clean, which means that I have to lie in order to lead a life, I need to cheat, or I need to be have exaggeration, then I am quite low in the totem pole. But if I am satisfied, if I am happy, relatively content, but yet I am still striving, then at least I'm a little further along in the total pole of life. So So here the Shastra says that the nature of Atma is that it is completely attached, or completely non-attached, and you need to understand how to achieve that. So there, in the one important thing to see is that we must at least understand what our true nature is. So this is where in Vedanta they say, and Swami Dayananji was the one who really espoused this view more than anyone else, and the other acharyas do that to a large extent as well, is that until you understand who you are, you will not really strive to be that. Because understanding the Atma as I am is not an easy thing to do. It is, even though it is a fact, it is neither difficult nor easy. It is just depends on my preparation. So I know that I am free, but I don't quite understand the full implications of that. And so in order to do so, they say that you have to go in that direction at least. And so the story that we recited in the last class about the Bahurupya is a very good example in this regard. So just to refresh your memory what Bahurupya was, it's a class of a human, I don't know whether they still have it in India or not, probably not, but I don't know for a fact. Maybe in villages they still have it. There is a certain type of a person who specializes in going around in new ways of looking outside with different clothing, different hairstyle, and so on. And it looks like it's a different person. You cannot recognize it's the same person that I saw in a different situation. It's called Bahurupya. And they used to go to villages, I suppose, and express this. Maybe they will have act number one, they will act as one. Then they will go behind the screen and then change all the clothing and everything and then come back. And then people will say, oh my gosh, he doesn't look like that person at all. So there was this one king who got hold of the fact that this is a very skilled Bahurupya and invited him. And said, okay, I have a challenge for you. If you can fool me and I see you and I don't recognize you, then I'll reward you very well. So the person said, okay. So he went to a faraway place and he began to do some yogic exercises, yogic siddhis, and he acquired some powers and was an ascetic. So he would not he would refuse all kind of help and gifts and so on. Absolutely not. And so the villagers were very impressed by him, and pretty soon the news reached the king that there is a Mahatma in the midst. And so the king came to meet with him, and he was just sitting there with his long beard and so on. And the Mahatma was very impressed that here is an ascetic who has renounced the world, and so said, sir, I request you to please come and stay in the palace, and I have a lot of gift for you. Here are some there's a lot of money, there's a lot of gold and so on. So the person said, so, sir, this is my life. I'm a Bahurupya. Once I promise somebody that I will not get anything, I will not do anything. So the king came back disappointed. Then the next day the Bahurupya shows up in the palace and said, see, you didn't recognize me, so you can give me anything you want to. So the king told him, you're a fool. You're very successful, but you are a foolish successful. He said, I came to you yesterday and I gave you this money and you refused the money. And now you're asking for just a few pennies compared to that. This is a foolish thing for you to do. So he said, sir, that's not true. Because if I expose myself to you to get that money, I would have broken what my promise was to myself, that I am just going to fool this person. And so I wanted to not violate that. And this is my profession. This is what I want to do. So the king was really very, very impressed by him and bowed before him and all that. So there's a reason for this story. And the reason is quite simple, which means that once a student becomes clear about who we really are, who I am, what's my nature, and so that has to be studied, it has to be ascertained, it has to be made firm, pakka, as they say in Hindi. Then anything that you do in your life must be consistent with that view of yourself, including the fact that the Atma of anyone is the same as the Atma of myself. So fundamentally, basically, all people are nothing but myself. And I have to treat everything the same way. If I am, just like if I have an immediate family, my daughter, my son, my granddaughter, my grandson, immediate family, how I treat them to be a part of me, a version of me, I treat them as me. Similarly, if I understand from Vedanta that the Atma is Sarvatma, is Paramatma, if I am the Sat, then others are Sat too. It's the same Sat. You cannot have multiple Sats. If I understand that, then the way to lead my life is to be consistent with that view. And I should examine that. I should examine how I'm treating the world. How am I viewing the world? If I'm viewing it and treating it as inconsistent with this view, I'm confusing myself. And I'm really, it's like saying, you need to go in that direction. Or you haven't reached there, but that is the direction you have to go, then turn left from there and so on. And I disregard it and I just keep moving around someplace else. How am I going to get there? So this is the moral of the story. This is the essence of the story, is that once you ascertain who you are, first you must ascertain who you are, then your life should be consistent with that. And you should examine how your life is. So there, now we see that, so the next point that we should see is that we we need to ascertain who we are from various angles. It's called ascertainment. If you just casually hear somebody and you have some shraddha towards it, that's not ascertainment. That's just the starting point. But ascertainment means that you test it and you are sure about it from all possible sides. Part of that is that the Atma doesn't do anything. Atma is not a karta. In two ways. One is that it doesn't have the ability to do. Because the ability to do must mean that I must have some hands and legs, eyes, so that I know what I have to do. These are the various instruments that I need to have. What in Sanskrit is called samagri. So I need to have the samagri to do. Atma doesn't have that samagri. It is satyam jnanam anantam. It is really formless, sarvagataha. And where is there's no samagri for it to act. Number one. The other thing is it doesn't need to act. Don't need to act. There's no compulsion, there is no requirement, there's nothing for it to acquire. It is complete already. Whatever the karma allows us to do in terms of wanting to do something is for some kind of a result that I need to get more fulfilled because of my actions. That's how I do the actions. But if I'm already fulfilled, there's no need for an action. So the Atma cannot do anything and furthermore does not need to do anything. That must be clear to us. So what this means is that if I have a sense of doing and a sense of being the recipient of the result of doing, so this is what is called kartritvam and bhoktritvam. If that's my feeling, that's my conclusion, then I don't know who I am. So kartritvam and bhoktritvam is a sign of self-ignorance. So the rest of this lesson and so on is to examine this fact, examine the issue of kartritvam and bhoktritvam, to see what's going on. How can I not be doing anything? Because it doesn't seem like it's possible that I cannot do it, that I don't have to do anything. So this is what we have to examine. So this is what we are doing it. So here we take up this topic to say that really speaking, kartritvam and bhoktritvam is a sign of foolishness. It is not the sign of a wise man. Because, we all go around, we could almost have stages in ego. So you can see super ego. Somebody who says, I am a big achiever in this life. I've done everything. I've done a lot. I've achieved a lot. and you have the way you go around lifting your head and talking to people and so on, it is an expression of the fact that you have a superego. So there are some people like that. There's lots of people like that, but not everybody. And there are some people that are even worse than that because they exaggerate. There's some people who do not exaggerate. They really have achieved something, but the sense of achievement doesn't leave them. Whatever they look upon is, I'm a big achiever. And there are some others who exaggerate that. This is exactly in the Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter. The 20 qualities, amanitvam, adambhitvam, starting with those two. Because Arjuna asks Krishna, he says, Sir, I know you've been talking about knowledge and jnanam and so on, but I kind of like to know, how does knowledge express itself in people? What does knowledge really mean? Can you please go over that one more time? Krishna, of course, was very, very solicitous. He says, sure, I'm happy you asked me that. Let me tell you. The first one is amanitvam. Amanitvam means the absence of manitvam. Manitvam means absence of ego. That is knowledge. That is self-knowledge. And then he adds adambhitvam, dambhi. So our Acharya Swami Dayananda used to say that we have, first of all, there are manis. Manam yasya astiti mani. Man, one who has a lot of ego. I have done all this and so on. Call him mani. You know, I remember this so well. We studied all this, you know, how not to be a mani, a manitvam. And yet, when we were graduating from this 2.5 year, I recall those moments very clearly about, you know, who I was and how I behaved with others and so on. I was a big mani. Even though I shouldn't have had it, but I didn't really know that I was a mani. I would just go around and view people. These people don't know what I know. I'm so fortunate and I'm very grateful and whatever it is, but I know a lot. This was my feeling. And I think I was telling you once that in one of the satsangs, quite late in the 2.5 years while we were there was one student who said, Swamiji, you know, I'm so happy that I'm one of the students and I can distinguish myself from so many other people that don't know this. The Swamiji detected a manitvam. And he says, Sir, may I correct you? You really don't know yet. You think you know who you are. Because Swamiji knows where everybody is. And more or less what everybody is. And just a knowledge that I'm the Atma and so on, which is a good insight, which is a wonderful thing. But did you behave like this? It's kind of like somebody has been given a lottery. And you win a lottery. Whatever the Powerball is these days, it's $800 million, and you give half of it to Uncle Sam and the rest of that to state of California. Not rest, but you're left with like 200 to 300 million. But 300 million is a lot of money. And so you can be very proud that I have. But is your attitude going to change? What if somebody comes to your door and said, Sir, please donate to some poor children? And you will say, go away, I don't have the time. So they say that you're only rich as what you can donate. So just by having money doesn't mean that you have acquired a sense of, this is what's called old money versus new money. It's interesting. My wife has certain very rich clients. She happens to be, doing the design work for several of them. Very rich. Some of them have old money, some of them have new money. And the ones who have new money behave differently. They flaunt it to show everybody that I'm very rich. The ones that have old money means their whole families have been around for a while. They inherited it and they did well. And they are very humble. They don't show off. So knowledge doesn't mean that you're done. That's a starting point for it. So therefore, the manitvam is also something, and dambhitvam and manitvam are defects that allow a person not to be very happy, because you have some kind of an artificial thing that you are dependent on. Anyway, so if you look at the range of ego, so there the superego, we talked about this person who was accomplished. But here's the thing. The rest of us who may not be that kind of an egotistical person, we are good, honest people and so on, ordinary people, normal person, nothing extraordinarily egotistical, also have a very damaging ego. You may not realize it, but that ego is what? Aham karta, aham bhokta. I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Just this feeling means I haven't reached the goal yet. And the goal is to know the truth. I am not a karta, I am not a bhokta. How? How am I going to do that? So here in these talks, these discourses, the Swamiji points out, you need to understand what is going on in your life, who is doing what. You should not just feel that I am doing everything, because it is not true. You are doing a very small portion of the whole requirement. So there's a story that Swami Maheshanandji had said, and I think I've read it some other places also. So this is one of those popular stories by Mahatmas. So apparently there was this man, good man, very nice sadhu person, who somehow had the habit of gardening. And he's an excellent gardener. His garden was immaculate. The tending of all the flowers, the plants was right on. He would not allow any weeds to grow. His arrangement of colors was excellent. He was working very hard, and he would fertilize it and water it, and just kept, everybody just was thinking, this is guys. They used to come and look at his garden. That was a thing of beauty. So then he discovered that there is a cow that comes in and spoils his garden by eating things. Poor cow is hungry. She doesn't know this is a important flower, this is that, it is gardenia, this is rose or anything. He just goes in, grazes, chomp, chomp, chomp. The next day he comes in and he says, oh my God, my garden got spoiled. Who did that? He saw there was a cow. So he tried to beat the cow away and so on. And the cow also went away and he said, okay, I'm not going to I'll make sure there's a little bit of a buffer. Next day the same thing happened. Somehow the cow went through the buffer and started, and this time the damage was more. That was the whole garden was his life. And he was so angry at this cow that he took a big stick and started really beating the cow to such a degree that the cow died. He hit him on the head at the wrong places and the cow collapsed. Killing a cow in India, as you know, is considered to be not a good thing to do. This is a very major, this is like killing your mother cow. So the news spread and everybody was just very unhappy. How did this happen and so on. So he was otherwise a good person, but he could not believe that people would know that he purposely killed the cow. So he lied about it. He said, this was Indra's doing. It was the wrong day and the stars were lined up and the Indra just came and it just collapsed from his Vajra. As these poor, simple village people believed him. And so then he went around tending his garden very well and so on. So the story goes that Indra, the Lord of the heavens, decided to pay him a visit as a human being and said, I heard a lot about your garden. Can you please show it to me? He says, wow, this is so good. Who did that? I did. Who does all the watering? I did. I do. But the fertilizers, you're doing such a wonderful job. Who does that? Every time he'll say, it's all me. Please enjoy yourself. And he says, I heard that there was a cow that died in this place. Who did that? Indra did it. So at that time, Indra revealed himself and he says, sir, for all other things, I didn't do anything. And you just put the blame on me for killing the cow. The rest of it, you are very happy that you did it. And yet something that you actually did, you are blaming others for doing it. This is not right. You'll have to pay for this. Anyway, this is the story. So this is exactly what happens in our life. That I do such a small portion of what needs to be done. Such a small portion. Trivial portion. But I take the credit for doing the whole thing. out of sheer ignorance, out of folly, out of foolishness. And as we said in the last class, you pay for it. There is a punishment for everything, there is a reward for everything. And the punishment for that is that you go through this process over and over again until you understand you are not the karta, you are not the bhokta. Then you are free. So if this is the case, we need to understand how this is the situation. So here Swami Akhandananda says that this is the difference between either pure bhakti or pure karma, or bhakti or karma associated with viveka. So, classical example, as we have seen, that the rising sun can be appreciated by anybody, but if the rising sun is accompanied by an understanding of how that whole phenomena is, it's a different thing altogether. There's a different level of enjoyment. So therefore, just believing I am not the karta, I am not the bhokta, not understanding through viveka how that is the case, doesn't really do anything. You know, Swami Dayanand used to talk about this Arati, Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare. You are the Swami of everything. Kya lage mera, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. There's nothing is of me, and it is all belongs to the Ishvara. So he used to joke about it. He says, you know, Ishvara one day was sitting there, and he says, he turns to his accountant who takes care of everything, and says, you know, this guy, he has renounced everything, his body, his mind, he has given it to me. That's very impressive. I think we should reward him. So the accountant also wrote down his name and said, okay, Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare, all of that. And then Kya lage mera, sab kuch hai tera, it all belongs to you, nothing is my body is not mine, and so on. Very good guy, wonderful. Okay, write it down. So we got some new property. His property is now our property, okay? Okay, that was fine. Next day, the same person goes to the temple, same arati. Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare, Kya lage sab mera, sab kuch hai tera. Ishvara said, you know what, I'm getting old. I thought he had already given everything to me. And now he's again giving the same thing to me again that he had given to me yesterday. Why is he doing that? There's some gadbad, some problem in the accounting system here. Then Bhagwan said, you know what, I understand. He's not really doing it, he's threatening to do it. So this is characteristic of the bhakti, where you have a belief without understanding. And so if that happens, then it is not true viveka, not true giving up. Kartritvam and bhoktritvam is still yours, and nothing has changed. So what kartritvam and bhoktritvam means, that is that you are still an individual. You haven't risen above it to understand the truth behind the individuality. That's what it really means. So Swami Akhandananda says that what it really requires is a careful study of where am I going wrong. It's not just saying, okay, I'm a... So you see, here's the two extremes. One extreme is that I am a karta, I am a bhokta. Clearly, I'm not there yet. The other extreme is that I don't really mean it. I am firmly of the belief that I'm the karta, I'm the bhokta. That's the other extreme. You need to move from here to there systematically by understanding through viveka what it meant. So this is what it is being talked about. So here the next step is, Swami Akhandananda says, that you need to understand how Ishvara works, how everything is delivered to you. It is what is your life about, what are the different portions of it, who does what. All of this has to be done, understood. Has to be understood. So there he quotes, he begins this analysis by quoting verse number 28 of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So the whole, as I mentioned to you before, this whole talk is around Bhagavad Gita. It has some other references, but primarily it is all about Bhagavad Gita. So he quotes this verse which says, Tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. So he starts with this verse, pulls that out of the 3rd chapter. Tattvavittu mahabaho, hey mahabaho. O Arjuna, who is called Mahabaho, means his legs were very, his arms were very tall. They say that his Arjuna's arms would go up to his knees. It's called Mahabaho. Or Mahabaho could be very powerful Bahu. You can take it either way. So he says, hey Mahabaho, the Tattvavit na sajjate. Sajjate means it does not get cling. He does not cling. He becomes independent. He's no longer attached. Then what? By doing what? So he says, guna karma vibhagayo. He says that he understands the segmentations of two things in his life. One is guna and the other one is karma. Tattvavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. So he says that first you divide, you see how Ishvara has divided both guna and karma. And you should see the segmentation. And then within gunas, you see that all the things that are going on are the interplay of the various gunas by themselves. It's going on. And then you say that the Tattvavit says, gosh, I don't have anything to do with it. There's a lot going on. And the same thing can be done for karma. There's a lot of karma going on. But really speaking, I am not touched by that. That is what the Tattvavit is. The knower of the truth is na sajjate. Tattvavittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartante iti matva. Knowing this truth, having a firm idea about this, Understanding it. Namatva means, itimatva means to understand this. Na sajjate. Once the understanding comes and he says, oh my God, I was just making a mistake. Na sajjate. So this is what he's talking about. So here he starts with, in these two segmentations, guna and karma, he first looks at gunas. We know all of that, but I think the commentary on the guna would be interesting. So he says that first of all, you should see what are gunas, how it operates in this life. So the gunas come from, they are part and parcel of Prakriti, of the very natural way of the Srishti of the whole world. And out of those gunas, which are as you know, Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. These are the three gunas. And the whole thing is just nothing but a juxtaposition of these three. So he says that you should see that things are going on according to the various gunas. You should see the effect of the gunas. In fact, you cannot see Prakriti by itself. You cannot say, okay, you can say these gunas come from the Prakriti. Okay, they come from the Prakriti. I want to see where the Prakriti is. You can't do that. It is kind of like seeing the leaves are moving and I want to see the vayu, the wind, which is making these leaves move. You can't see that. Vayu is part of the adrishta. So out of the 5 Pancha Mahabhutas, the first 2 are adrishta and the next 3 are drishta. So Akasha and Vayu are adrishta. You cannot see the eyes. They are too subtle for the eyes to see. Then the next 3, which is fire, water, and Prithvi, the eyes can see. So the Vayu you cannot see. But you know what? You don't have to see it. If the Vayu is not moving, then nothing is moving. But if something is moving, that means the Vayu is because of Vayu. It's not like somebody is moving the tree and making the leaves move. That's interesting. In our side yard, where there is a garbage cans are there, and I often go there from the garage to throw the day's recyclables and so on. I do that once a day just to clean everything up. And it is very dark outside, and there was no light there. So I asked one of our handyman people who comes in to help us out. I says, can you please install a light, which is LED light, and so when you see a movement, the light should come on. So he says, yeah, sure. So he did that. So now as soon as I walk out, the light comes on and I'm very happy. But now the problem is there are some trees around it. And once in a while, if there's a cat or some animal that goes through, the light also comes on. But more than that, if there are some trees which are there and they are moving because of the wind, the light comes on. I won't want to have that happen, but what can you do? You can either take it one or the other. So the Vayu the effect of the Vayu can be seen. You cannot see the Vayu. So the effect of Prakriti can be seen as gunas. How? So here, if you see a person who is very fond of meditation and chanting and visiting, you see that person going to the temple and all these place all the times of the year, you say that person is very sattvic. Chances are that he's a vegetarian and he's very sattvic. Then you see a person, so that you don't see sattva guna, but you see the effect of the sattva guna in the minds of people. Then you see someone who is very active. He is doing multitasking. He's looking at the stocks on one side and he's also doing something else. And then he calls people up and he says, oh, I want to go and visit that place. Can you help me get a ticket for this? And so on and so forth. He's so super active and so on and so forth. What will you guess from him? Rajoguna. And also has a lot of desires. Oh, we must do this, we must do that. And there is a person who's just lying down on the couch. And you say, hey, you want to go someplace? He says, no. I don't know, I'm too tired. That means tamoguna. He is a lazy person, doesn't want to do anything. You can't stimulate his mind and so on. So these are, and we are all a combination of all these things. So similarly, the people themselves, the bodies, for example, the flesh and bones are made out of tamoguna. The tamoguna is important. Then all the desires come from rajoguna. And all the knowledge of things, either through my sense organs or through the mind and so on, is sattvaguna. You cannot learn anything without sattvaguna. So now, this is the field of gunas. This is the field of gunas. And then this means you should see where you are. Are you associated with sattvaguna at any one time, rajoguna, or tamoguna? And then from that you see, I am the seer of all three. I'm aware of the fact that I'm very sleepy. I'm aware of the fact that my body is very heavy and doesn't move. I'm aware of the fact that my mind is moving around. I'm aware of that. I'm the drishta. I'm the drishti. I'm a sakshi. Same sakshi. Not as though that when I see myself in the morning, I'm one kind of sakshi. When I see something else in the afternoon, I'm a different kind of sakshi. I'm not sakshi too. It's the same sakshi. Same sakshi when I was young. Same sakshi. So here it says that you see the vibhaga, the segmentation of gunas, the play of gunas, and be aware of that. So this is the guna drishti. Then the same thing is true for karma drishti. This is how the tendency to be in a certain way is guna. And the tendency to do something is karma. Karma segmentations are very simple. One form is tamaha, tamas, who has no rasa in doing things. You just do it for the sake of it. It's called tamoguna, tamokarma, tamaskarma. Then the next one is where you have a lot of greed. lobha, desires, so rajoguna. And then of course the sattva guna, where you're very motivated to learn new things. Not necessarily because that will give you any power of money or anything, just for the sake of it. Sattva guna. And so if you look at our ashrama and the varna system, the so-called jati, the caste system, what's called caste system, so misunderstood. And now against such a tragedy in this life also, all these left liberals and people who are against Hinduism and so on, they have an agenda to put the very beauties of Hinduism down. But the fact of the matter is that each one of us has these roles in our own life. So for example, when there is a kama pradhana means when you have just pure desires to enjoy, no other feeling, I just want to just have fun. That is what is called Shudra Jivana. Then if I have Artha Pradhana, saving money and making money, that's Vaishya Jivana. And then if I have Shakti Pradhana, where I want power, want leadership, that is Kshatriya Jivana. And where I have Jnana Pradhana, then my Jivana is that of a Brahmana Jivana. And I have all four of them mixed together. So here therefore then there is Karma Vibhaga. In all people, in all aspects of life, there is Karma Vibhaga, not only Guna Vibhaga. Similarly, in the four ashramas of life, that brahmachari is what is called Niyama Pradhana. So Niyama Pradhana means you need to learn what is to be done in life. This is called Niyama Pradhana. This is why our acharyas are not happy about children being made to make money by distributing newspapers. That's not the right thing to do. They should just study and learn and be a productive person. It's called Niyama Pradhana, Brahmachari. Then in the Grihastha is Samyama Pradhana. Samyama Pradhana means to keep your equilibrium, even though you are being torn in different directions, to keep a home which is productive, which is pleasant, where people can come and relax. There's no fights. Children are free to come and go. Spouses also have a freedom to be what they are. And your society, you are a contributor to the society as well as a agent of taking things. All of that is Samyama Pradhana. That is called Grihastha. Then in the Vanaprastha is Tapasya Pradhana, where you begin to give up things. You learn. And then you also give up the my and mine. Is Vanaprastha Vanaprastha. And of course in sannyasi is total tyaga. So this is how the gunas and the karmas interplay. And you should see what is the adhisthana for each the gunas and karmas. Where does it rest? And what is happening in the adhisthana? And how does the adhisthana create this vibhaga between guna and karma? We must know this. And we should see what the content of this adhisthana is. So for example, we see, and this is the crux of the whole thing. Swami Dayananji was really so articulate when he said that. He says, please see that everything is given to you. Everything is given to you by nature. You're born in the womb of a mother. You are not doing anything. There is no sangha. You don't have saying, oh, I am attached to this. You take birth. And what you need to do to survive, to be able to find the mother's milk, is given to you. You don't learn, you don't do anything. Asanga. And then the body, how it functions, how you how you eliminate, how the diapers have to be changed. You don't do anything. And inside of that also now, how the body grows. What do you do? How the heart beats. Where is your kartritvam? How the kidney functions. How the blood flows. How the eyes. How the prana comes into the body. Where is your kartritvam? Who's doing that? Somebody is doing it, something is happening. What jati you were born in, whether you were born as a Kshatriya or Shudra or anything, what do you have to do with it? It's just you are given that. How many days are you going to live? You will make some small adjustments here and there, not abuse. Given to you. Even your ability to not abuse or to abuse is also as a result of your vasanas, that is also given to you. You can make some adjustments on your lifespan by leading a good life, by exercising. That wisdom is also given to you. Did you invent that wisdom? How much happiness and unhappiness you're going to have? All determined. But you can make some adjustments, but it's all beyond you. And then, of course, what happens is that these natural things that are given, and we haven't even looked yet, we'll probably have to do that in the next class. But if you haven't looked at that, we haven't even looked at the fact, the function of the various devis and devatas in your body, in your mind. There's so much that is given to you. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Matra Rupena Samsthita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namah. I think this is I was so impressed by when I understood this. That when a young girl becomes a mother, the love for the baby, the holding of the baby, the caring of the baby, caring of the baby in the womb, is that something that the mother does? The girl does? No, it's given to her. So there is a Devi, Durga Devi, that bestows the motherhood to all potential girls. All girls that are potentially mothers that I meet. It is already given to you. You don't do anything. You feel happy. The motherly love is not something that you have to generate. Hey, why are you so irresponsible? You're not taking care of the baby. No. This whole Devi, Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samstita Ramastasya Vidya Rupena Samstita Nidra Rupena Samstita Matra Rupena Smriti Rupena Bhadra Rupena Shraddha Rupena Bhakti Rupena Shanti Rupena Lakshmi Rupena Samstita. All given to you. So in addition to the various functions being done in my life, in my body and mind and so on, the interplay of all the Devis and Devatas, there's so many things that are big. You cannot see anything until you have the sun. How are you going to see unless there is some light? So this is what happens. We are foolish if we say, I did everything. And so to appreciate what is happening behind the scenes, there's a lot happening. And yes, you're making some minor things. As I was telling you when I was driving to the class, I mean, just look at it. There is a lot going on in a car. There is, now I have an electric car, so I can talk about not gasoline, but an electric, how electricity is transmitted to the wheels, how it is moving, how the GPS system, and there's so much going on. And all you need to do, in fact, now you don't even have to touch the wheel. So much goes on. And all you need to do is to just make sure you keep your eyes open. That's it. There's no change in you. There's no sangata. But sangata comes in through asakti. So this is where likes and dislikes, this is mine, this is not mine. Doesn't need to. Not necessary. It is just happening. The whole natural phenomena is going on. You are there, enjoy it. So these are the steps towards asangata that one has to take. So with that, let me close this class and we will continue on with this analysis as we go forward. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Tan man dhan sab kuch hai tera. Yes, Shanti Kumar, you're right. So good to see all of you. Wonderful. See a new name. Nadunuri Surya Narayan Rao. I don't recognize you. So if you could kindly send me an email at vijaykapoor@gmail.com, just introducing yourself, I would like that. All right, very good. Hope to see you next time. Hari Om.